What is the effect of the Luka trade long-term on the Mavs fan base? What about the trust in Nico Harrison? All on today's Locked On Mavs with the one and only Tim Cato.
I'm gonna get a city like that.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs, your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave me alone.
Your team every day.
Gotta be born with a dog blood.
You are Locked On the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Isaac. I'm one of your co-hosts covering the Mavs for the last 10 years alongside Nick. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen of the day. Go make Locked On NBA Big Board your second listen of the day. Guys, it's almost draft season. You got to be getting in the groove listening to Locked On NBA Big Board there. But if you're a true Mavs fans, sign up for our Locked On Mavs Insider program to get the latest news, Q&As, and more texted to you. And if you haven't already, sign up for our free newsletter sent straight to your inbox. Sign up for both through the link in the description or the QR code on the screen. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Guys, today I'm joined by one of my friends at DLLS. That is Tim Cato. Tim recently published a Mavs fan survey that you can read at alldlls.com. And we have him on the pod to talk about the results. Here's Tim Cato. All right, I'm here. The one and only. It's the Tim Cato. How are you doing, Tim?
The one and only? There's got to be some more Tim Catos. No,
Who's
there
more?
is one. There's one on Twitter, on X, that is Tim Cato no underscore.
Oh.
He tweets at me every once in a while.
Who has the higher approval rating right now? You or Tim McMahon?
I would imagine me.
Okay. I didn't know if it's
which is my I'm not condoning per se, but I am that is my I think fair analysis of how things are going. I did have somebody tweet at me like they're in McMahon's mention and they're like, you and Cato's reporting is the reason that Luka isn't here. And so I sent back the me? The me? I need a Corona. I think that's the meme. Me?
I mean, you are at fault. So it's because of local media coverage that pushed Luka out. But
well, okay, let me actually say this that comes to mind. It's very funny on the like NBA Reddit or people they keep oscillating and lately there's like a post about how Luka's only had 3 dunks in 2 years and everybody's like, this is why he was traded. Oh my God, maybe Nico was right. And I'm like, yes, we have been reporting on this for a long time that he doesn't quite look the same. There has to be a middle ground though. And I know that's how the internet works. It swings from one extreme to the other. But
no, not the internet or social media. Let's talk about your survey. So this is one of my favorite things that you do, honestly, every year. You are like, I feel like you are I know Jake Fisher's tried to like coin this, the people's reporter type thing. But ever since your Mavs Moneyball days, and even into, the athletic and stuff, you always write kind of the cool angle of a story that no one, isn't seeing or talking about. And then you've done these surveys now for, I think this is the 6th one, right?
Yeah. 2020, I think there was the first one. Yeah.
So yes, so it's a 6th year of doing these surveys that you shoot out to the fan base. This year you shot it out. My light's going down in this room. And you
wow, you're not joking.
I'm sorry.
Wow,
there's nothing I can do about it right now. I will.
Dark Isaac.
The
survey results weren't that bleak.
All right, I'm just gonna stay here for a second. So you got over 5,300 responses back, and you acknowledge in the piece, in the survey, you say, hey, I get it. These, a lot of people who are filling the survey out, they're more online, they're more engaged, they're probably more younger in that, but still 5,300 responses. I think that one is a good, it's a good capture of the fan base enough to like have these like results of, yeah. So I just want to start here with one of your top questions is how has the Luka Doncic trade affected your fandom this far? And I thought this was just fascinating with just how, just the magnitude of this, and honestly, the generational effect that a trade like this could happen. And you had your categories for fans to pick were more engaged, no change, less engaged, much, much has, much less engaged, and no longer a fan / reconsidering fandom. And when you combine that much less engaged to the no longer a fan, you're looking at like around 79%, right at the 80% mark of that much less engaged, no longer a fan, reconsidering fandom. Is that like, does that track with what you're like, what you thought going into this? You answer, and I'm gonna turn my lights back on.
Yeah, I mean, it surprised me. It really did surprise me that it was that much. I think in the context of what we're both seeing. I mean, Isaac, I know you as much as me. We're seeing online how much, me and you, Isaac, we're seeing online how much, people are responding and talking about the, just how they don't feel the same engagement. And I thought it was going to be more people who I thought much less engaged would be the highest mark. I was not expecting that many people to reply saying they're no longer fans, that they're reconsidering fandom. There are some people who took reconsidering fandom, and this is the tough part about putting, fairly subjective answers. I mean, this is a process that I really do enjoy doing every year, but I really try to think about how to make it, not as subjective as possible. And anytime I, inject my own subjectivity into it, it's, there's always room for it to be interpreted in a different way. I thought it was interesting that I said reconsidering fandom, or what I meant by it, or what I thought people would perceive it as, was just people kind of taking a step back and seeing if, just not knowing whether they're going to come back to the type of fandom they had, or still figuring out what level of fandom they had. There's some people who just thought it meant, hey, I'm reconsidering which fan I am, like which team I'm going to support. And for it to be the majority opinion, for it to be almost half of the respondents, was surprising. I did find that surprising, but I think it tracks. I mean, you tell me. You're just as online as me, I think, or close to, and it does match what we're seeing from, the online fandom, the vocal online fandom. And as you acknowledge up front, I do think that this most represents the vocal online fandom. Mavericks games are around 80% empty right now, but that's still a very, it's like the most important aspect of any fandom. And for that many people to be, really just grappling with what this means and whether they're still fans or already being convinced that they're not fans. Yeah, I thought it really stood out to me.
Yeah, and I think I'm fascinated by the long-term effect of a trade like this. That I think it's so hard for us right now to fully grasp what it means. And it's small examples for me, but like my son's like youth soccer game a few weekends ago, and there were a handful of Luka Laker jerseys, just like kids just wearing them like on the sideline, just like over their hoodies and different things, just like for fun. And it's like I feel like I've seen more. I mean, the Lakers fan base is already huge, but it's like I feel like I've seen more Lakers things over the past like month here around the city than I ever have before. And I wonder what just different friends, we're friends with Jason Gallagher and stuff, and he's been opening about his son and different things. I just wonder what the long-term effect of a trade like this for a fan base that is so familiar with loyalty. And we always had this like foundation. There were different changes of the roster throughout the years, but if you went to the Mavs hangar, if you wanted to be safe, like I didn't grow up with a ton of money, but it's like whenever I saved up the money or I asked for a Christmas gift and it's like I wanted a certain player, it's like, all right, what's the safest jersey option that I know will be on the team? And it was always, you could always do Dirk because it's like, oh, Dirk's always going to be here. And I think for a lot of people it's Luka, but now it feels like nobody's safe. There's no safe jersey. What do you think the effect long term on the fan base could be?
Yeah, I mean, this is a seismic event. This is a unprecedented trade, and fans, I think I understand how they're understandably, they've lost trust, I guess, and this was a social contract. I know, my friend, colleague, our friend, but Bobby Karalla, at DLS, wrote about how this broke the unwritten social contract.
Great piece by Bobby, by the way.
Between fans and the franchise that they support, and it's just really hard to get that back. And it's an unprecedented time, and I do think that a lot that was baked into this trade was, there were going to be a percentage, probably a significant percentage of people who were always going to be turned off and affected by this trade. But I think there's another percentage that maybe you could have won back, not to the same degree, if the team had played well. But that was part of the bet. And so for the season to also go the way it has, it just amplifies something that it's a fandom that large percentage are turning to apathy, and there's really no end in sight. And it's just not a good place for a franchise to be.
Do you think winning cures all?
I don't think it cures all, no. But I think it's an individual case. Everybody has their own unique relationship to fandom. Fandom is inherently an irrational thing. And for this to appear like it has, for so many people to take it as a betrayal, I think there are a lot of people who would not have come back from this. I do think that if the Mavericks were winning and if the team looked awesome and if they were healthy, it would be different. I think it would be different for some people. And, so not only did you make a trade, but you made a trade that, needed, like relied on, fans could get over. Fans were not, incensed 2 years ago when they missed the playoffs. They were very frustrated. But it was a different scenario because that was still your team, and you had the chance at next season. The way this has played out is just, even if, even the best case scenario, even the case that you win some fans back with the play on the court, for that to be taken away too is as doomsday of a scenario as you could imagine.
Let's look at this. One of the conversations right now with NBA fandom that I think is just so interesting is it feels like as time goes along, the player fan versus a franchise fan continues to just like grow. Like I just feel like when we were younger, you didn't see a ton of like just straight. I mean, I guess you had Jordan fans and stuff, but like Jordan was on the Bulls, for majority of his time, and you had Kobe, but Kobe's on the Lakers majority of the time. So it's just like, or the whole time. But it's just like, I wonder how, and this is where I want to look at one of the questions you have. You put in there, how closely have you / do you plan to follow Luka Doncic's career, Lakers career? And you had a 1 through 5 answer here. And on the 5 spot, it was a 48%, the highest one by far, that fans are going to follow Luka's career in LA. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not going to follow the Mavs too, but it's
Right.
like, hey, we're gonna follow Luka to the Lakers. Is that, do you think that's heat of the moment, or do you think it's like legit long term?
I think what's so tricky about this is that people hurt by the trade, and I think people wanting to remain Mavs fans, so much of this trade even being somewhat justifiable. And in the end, I'm not going back to all of my feelings. I think, most people who listen to Locked On understand kind of where I fall on this. So I'm assuming a lot of info here, but obviously, like I would not have made this decision just from basketball reasons. It was even less justifiable for what you got back for it. And then I think the fandom element is something that made it, just non-starter. They shouldn't have even been a conversation when you consider what it means and, to the fandom, to the social contract. For this trade to have any justification, though, it really does depend on Luka. And, I think, again, this is a point that has been made, but, it's not whether Dallas wins a championship in the next year or two. It's if Luka wins, has any success. If he wins a title with the Lakers, then it's always going to be seen as he could have done that in Dallas. And so I think some of it is just, some of it is the Luka fandom. And it's not necessarily that these, people who replied 5 or 4, most, they're going to follow it most closely. It's not that they would identify themselves specifically as a, as a Doncic fan, or maybe even more specifically as a player fan. They may still be more wired to be team fans, but Luka was the team. And so now you're in an impossible situation where, you want this guy to succeed. You want to see him succeed. You're very curious. I think a lot of this is the curiosity, for a move this large, everybody wants to know how he does in the next place. They want to see, if there's anything that he does in LA that would, slightly explain how this happened. And again, that's just an aspect of it. I think by far the majority of people are just legitimately, fell in love with this player who, like I said, was, basically inseparable, or so we thought, so the fandom thought, from this franchise. And it's really hard to just turn around, and when your Mavericks fandom is baked into Luka fandom, because that's what it almost always is at this level, what it always had been up to this trade. It's really hard to just turn around and not be interested, not continue following, a player who, whatever you think of him, legitimately has a chance to be a generational top 5, top 10, top 15 basketball player of all time.
It's all the stuff outside the court too. Like when you have a player of this magnitude, there are, there's the summers that we've all collectively been adopted by the Slovenian national team fan base. It's, it's the country of Slovenia that I feel like I've learned more about over the past 6 or 7 years. You went over there to Slovenia, which I'm gonna go out on the limb and say you probably wouldn't have went to Slovenia a few years ago if Luka wasn't in Dallas. Maybe I'm wrong.
No. I went there. I went there to write about him. I went there to write about that entire dynamic. And it's I was actually talking. I'm doing one final story about how Slovenia has reacted to this news, and I thought one thing that was interesting was, or two things that are interesting. One is that even though Slovenians have transferred, or it's been easier for them since they were more Luka fans than Mavericks fans, there is a sadness for, they had fallen in love with this Mavericks team, and there's a sadness that Luka didn't get another chance with them. And there's also there's a feeling that, Dallas has always been such an internationally focused franchise, that Dirk Nowitzki obviously was the franchise star, that there are many fans still in Germany. And for this trade to happen, it's not just, basically Slovenians are like, when we talk to the German Mavs fans, they feel almost as offended by this whole thing, because, Luka in a way was somebody they embraced as well, as obviously not a countryman, but, as an international, star and an icon and representative of this franchise.
Yeah, and there's all the, there's the signature shoes, there's the posters around the city, there's, he comes into Dallas, he looks like a young little kid and compared to what he looks like now. It's like there's all these like touch points and connections within the stuff in the community that you have with a star player like that when he gets traded, I mean, I hate the Lakers, but it's like I'm still gonna like cheer for Luka.
Right.
Maybe not the Lakers, but I'm gonna cheer for Luka and hope he does well, because it's like it's hard to just like drop all of that. You look at another question about Luka you had on there. You're like, you ask fans, do you believe the reported reasons for the Doncic trade? Conditioning, injury risk, off-court habits, defense, culture are the primary reasons for it. Basically, like, hey, do you believe that there's some conspiracy theories out there that you're asking the fan of, like, there's reasons we don't know for this trade to happen? 54% of the responses came back, and that was no, there are more reasons not involving Luka for this trade. And you had a big explanation or, some words after this. And I just can't like stress enough either. We might not like the reasons, but it feels like in everything that I've heard too is like, those are the reasons. Those are the legit reasons why this trade happened. And there wasn't, I would love to believe a bigger, higher piece of it. But yeah. So like, what do you, I don't know, even know what the question is, but were you surprised, I guess, that 54% of people are like, no, there's a bigger reason behind this?
Yeah, no, I guess. And, even as, and I said this when I published these results, even as I will continue saying, as long as I understand it to be true, and I understand it to be true that, the reasons given both, reported anonymously, but also just the reasons said by Nico Harrison, consistently throughout, his first press conference about it. And those were the reasons that this happened. But I get it. This is an unprecedented trade. This has never happened before. And so, to try to justify it, and again, as there goes the lights again,
I'm just going to leave it at this point.
It's they're Dark Isaac, maybe there is a conspiracy.
Hello.
You're the man behind the shadows. But I get it. I really do. I get that. It's so unbelievable that everybody just seems to believe that there has to be at least one more piece of the puzzle to explain it. And I'm very sympathetic to that feeling, even if I will keep saying, as long as, I don't, as long as I know this to be the case, I will keep saying that there really is not something else behind it. I thought about putting in a question or maybe phrasing this question differently and like explicitly putting in do you believe that the Mavericks will move to Las Vegas? Again, a thing that we both know is not going to happen. No. There's a lot of reasons it's not going to happen. And in fact, even everybody says the Las Vegas Sands Corp, they're barely represented in Vegas. They don't have a casino there. This is a company that is actually divesting from Vegas and is investing in other places. They are trying to like Dallas. Exactly. There are so many reasons to, and I've been very, everybody I've talked to has been very adamant. This is not happening, but it's still, how many times do you see the Vegas comment? Still,
oh my gosh,
this
all
week.
the time.
Yeah. Like almost on a daily basis. And again, there's no part of me that wants to come in here and be like, oh, you still think that the team's going to Vegas? What a dummy. Because if you had asked me a week before, I never would have said that they were going to trade Luka Doncic, like this, the unprecedented nature of the trade itself, I think begets a level of conspiratorial thinking that isn't true, but I at least I understand. I really do understand where it comes from.
Let's talk about Nico Harrison. You asked the question, how's your confidence level in Nico Harrison? Nico Harrison's front office changed since this past summer. Now, I love this part. I even tweeted about this when sharing your story because I'm a diehard. If you're not a diehard at DLLS, make sure you do that. Go to the website and at least I think you tweeted the other day. There's a deal going on right now, maybe. But
yeah, like $36 for a year, $3 a month, something like that. Yeah,
you can't beat that. Yeah. All right, here you go. You asked this question over the past 3 seasons before this, since Nico's came in here. 2022, the confidence in Nico Harrison in this front office, 51%. 2023, 53%. 2024, right at 69.7%.
And if I can interrupt you real quick, these also, so this is a 1 to 5 sliding scale. What I listed was the highest vote getter. So in 22 and 23, 51 and 53 represent 4. So more confident, on a scale of least confident to most confident. There was a lot of people who were, optimistic, more confident than not. Last season, almost 70% of the fan base said most confident. And then there's this year.
And then the Mount Everest drop of I mean, the poll this year, 90.3% says much less confident. What's Nico Harrison's job security right now?
And also, just to put the numbers on it, about 81% voted least confident. So a lot of people less confident, but also, it's the actual numbers is more than 4/5 of the fan base expressed just a lack of confidence in him and him running the team. As far as I understand, as far as I believe, as of now, he's going to get a chance to execute or try to execute this vision that he had for the Mavericks. And obviously, with the team's injury crisis, that wasn't, that there was no chance to even see if his vision, to truly see it on the court. There was three quarters of it. And, everything I've heard as of now is that, yeah, he's going to get this chance to run it back. I do wonder, not this survey specifically, maybe the Dumont see it, maybe they don't. But the Dumonts are, they're, the Dumont family or the Adelson family and Patrick Dumont, they're business people. I guarantee you that there are surveys that they will be running of their own that are more scientific. I do wonder what they think of these results. I do wonder what Patrick Dumont thinks of, his general manager making a trade that led to him being booed at a home game. Something that
felt like a mini moment there. Yeah. When he didn't realize, like, wait, they're booing me.
Right.
That felt like a moment.
Hilarious comedic timing for him to ask the Dallas mayor. And he's like, no. And then he asked Patrick Welts, the CEO, and he's like, yes. Just if you go back and rewatch it, amazing comedic timing. I do wonder what Patrick, like if there's one person I could get like truly honest opinions from right now, truth serum style, it would be Patrick Dumont, because he's the one we know the least about what he thinks. And I just, as far as I understand, this reaction was not expected by the Mavericks, or at least the decision makers on the Mavericks, the people involved in this trade. I think they understood that it wasn't going to be the most popular decision, but that's kind of how they viewed it. Oh yeah, this is not going to be the most popular decision. They didn't understand it was going to reach levels I don't think we've ever seen. Not we've seen fan bases irate and enraged and direct, and sometimes they've directed at the franchise itself, but not in this way. More often, what this is more comparable to, I think, is LeBron James leaving Cleveland. But that was a fan base engaged against a player who made a decision to leave. It's really different when it's the team's own, decision makers who do this. And so I do wonder,
that player's gone then. Like,
yeah,
this franchise is still here. Like,
right.
I mean, medieval times, all right, is chanting fire Nico. There are classrooms in which teachers are posted pictures of their classrooms of elementary kids with fire Nico signs that they've made in class with crayons.
The San Antonio Spurs, their arena security had to, the second game of a baseball series, they had to, the reports are that they've clamped down on fire Nico chants. That's an entirely different NBA arena. That after a initial game where there were fire Nico chants, they went into a second game, trying to stop that.
It's obviously something I've never seen before. It's more of like trying to zoom out and try to see the like context of like just overall sports in general, of like what it even compares to. But let's switch to Kyrie real quick for this last question. You ask the fans basically, how confident are you that Kyrie remains a Maverick past it, this coming up summer? And I think the highest response was number 2 on that, scale 1 to 5, how confident. And the highest was that 2 mark. What are you hearing about Kyrie right now? Do you think he stays in Dallas?
Yeah, like 55% were least or less confident. Only about 18% were most confident. I do think this shows a little bit of the reactionary nature. I think that this survey, again, was aimed at, or I always knew that it was going to be most populated by those most incensed by the trade. And again, that is okay. That is the most important part of your fan base. I do think the results of this are a little bit reactionary. Now, I'll say that, about 5,300 responses, about 4,000 of them came in prior to Kyrie Irving's injury. And, the responses that came in were not meaningfully different. As far as I understand, my best guess, my best info, and my info is, it's especially after the injury. I don't think even Kyrie knows exactly what he's going to do this summer. I think that's a decision for a later point with something so career and life changing happening to him. But as far as I knew, I think that there is a reason to have confidence in him returning to Dallas.
Yeah, pre-injury. I don't know what the injury changes things, but pre-injury, I had a pretty good confidence that he's in Dallas past this summer. But now, like you said, I don't know what the injury changes everything, and I've literally talked to nobody outside of asking you this question after post-injury so far. So, all right, anything else about the survey that you want to throw out there besides? Obviously, guys, you can find the survey DLLS, their website. This is just what you are doing right now is just so much fun. You have a show every single day, 1 p.m. Central Time, right?
That's when it is today. Yeah.
1 p.m. Central Time. Our friends
it changes
Bobby,
around, and sometimes it's game coverage, stuff like that. But yes,
you can watch it on YouTube. Kevin Gray, Mark Stein pops in, different people on even that cover the Cowboys, Stars, Rangers hop on every now and then. Sweet studio, love the studio setup. Sometimes if I take a late lunch, I'll throw it on YouTube and see what these nerds are talking about. But any last words on the survey that you're like, hey, I think y'all should go see some results on this? A little tease.
I thought the results to, which of the following statements most align with your opinion? The Doncic trade was justifiable. The Doncic trade was justifiable with more in return. The Doncic trade was not justifiable. That to me was the question I was most interested in, as there's been so much conversation about, look what Dallas got back in return. And basically the idea, or what I was trying to figure out from this question is, is that just another reason people are upset? Are there more people who would have been okay with this trade, with more in return? Or is that just like when they run out of saying this was never justifiable, they're like, and also the return was, what it was. And the answers were pretty decisive on that one. So alldlls.com if you want to check out the full results. And yeah.
And you said it's open now?
It's to read the entire thing and with the analysis, it's still paywall, but shoot me a DM and yes,
or better yet, just sign up to be a diehard. You even get a free merch item too when you sign up to be a diehard. So you can pick any shirt they have. It sends it to you. It's less than $40 for the whole year. Come on,
man! You are shilling better than me for DLLS.
I'm trying.
So I feel like I need to promote Locked On right now. Hey guys, everybody listening to this, there's a cool podcast I need you to check out called Locked On Mavs. You've probably never heard of it. It's a joke that they're listening to right now. No, I love that we both coexist, and we're actually like sister.
I was gonna say we're kind of like cousins right now or something. Yeah. So we're both kind of owned by the same company, so or something
like that. Yeah,
so, yeah.
Above our pay grade.
Probably didn't get that right, but all right. Listen to Tim, DLLS, and yeah, I'll see you soon, bro.
Peace out.